Welcome, Travis Green, everybody. He's done so much for me, I cannot tell it all. If I had 10,000 tongues, it still wouldn't be enough. Tuku na grandma really, when you hear completely.
Right, hello, good morning, and welcome to the show. This is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. As a Tuesday, the 22nd day of June, 2021. By His grace, we're live. And we're here with yet another edition of the show. Our gratitude to go to the Most High God for the very privilege of being alive. And of course, the opportunity of having another conversation around the top stories making the rounds here in our dear Republic. I'll let you into a panel for the morning's conversation shortly. But let's take a look at the front pages of our newspapers. Daily Graphic. Tax stamps grow from 28 million in 2018 to 90 million in 2021. Pay more attention to moral education, Presby moderator. Ghana scores higher on Global Peace Index. Ghanaian Times. Second Emergency and Preparedness Response Project. World Bank approves $435 million for COVID-19 combat. Chalking listing of structures, 8 million houses counted so far. Armed robbers kill mobile money vendor autocracy. CRI survey reports children list 5 top concerns. Daily Guide. Be vigilant, Nana to border residents. Owner of smuggled guns arrested. Ghana judge second most peaceful. Kids give thumbs up to government. Nana re-elected ECOWAS chair. The New Crusading Guide. Ghana is second most peaceful country in Africa, IEP. Offer 10,000 Ghana City startup capital for final year students. Economist urges government. U.S. firm pledges support for Ghana's organic food sector. John Kuma supports Ejisu rice farmers with fertilizers. Joma Akwashon, others accused of destroying forest cover. The Insight. Chachu Chikata, he says 2020 election petition ruling full of errors. COVID-19, St. Andrews SHS others receive HES awards for outstanding performance. NDC breaks silence on CJ's petition on Ayine. From G7 to NATO meetings, imperialist powers turn more aggressive towards China. The Daily Statesman. Akufo-Addo gets thumbs up for sterling leadership. A Greek minister chairs Ghana Cote d'Ivoire Cocoa Committee. Ghana is second most peaceful country in Africa as global peace deteriorates. Business and Financial Times. Cedi's gain against dollar slows. Harnessing Finance and Technology takes center stage today at Maiden RBGH BNFT Digital Conference. Children skeptical about future prospects. Latest CRI study. Schools must not lose focus in COVID-19 fight. Dr. Richard Esiedu. Leverage remittances for economic recovery post-COVID-19. Digitalization, a necessity in a new normal. Pass Occupational Safety and Health Bill now. Safety expect inflation rate to remain within target in the short term. And that's about it for the front pages. We'll be back shortly.
Safe First Charge System with 2 fine line certification. 90Hz Superfluid display. 6.95-inch Full HD Plus. MediaTek Helio G95 processor. Unbeatable gaming experience. Infinix Note 10 Pro, faster and smoother.
Did you know that cloth handkerchief gets dirty and wet after wiping your sweat or blowing your nose with it? Keeping a dirty handkerchief in your pocket or bag is very unhygienic. Reusing it increases your chances of getting sick from germs. That is why I always use Flora disposable handkerchief. Flora disposable handkerchiefs is disposable, thus making it a more hygienic option. It's thick and very absorbent. With 10 tissues in a pack, Flora disposable handkerchief is better than a cloth handkerchief.
Mommy, my Flora disposable handkerchief.
Look out for Flora toilet roll, Flora multi-purpose paper towels, Flora table napkins, and Flora box tissues in a shop near you. For both purchases, call Delta Paper Mail on 0243 033 033.
Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. With me on the show this morning, I have the former Executive Director of the Dankwa Institute, Richard Ayagba. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, sir.
Right. The Member of Parliament for the Ningo Prampram constituency, Samuel Nati George, will join us shortly. Richard, how have you been?
Been okay. Trying to taking the Father's Day celebration. I don't know if it was
You're
quite...
enjoying it?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to compare it with Mother's Day, see which one is most popular.
No. It goes into insignificance.
Yes.
We're always the victims.
I don't know why.
Huh?
I don't know why.
We're always the victims.
I don't know why. But there was a song actually by some guy on social media. I was talking about if fathers were not there, all of these things wouldn't be. So I don't know. Maybe that is a comeback fight for us to try to equalize.
For me, I look at it from this point of view. I mean, they were made to be pampered.
Fathers or mothers?
Mothers.
Okay.
So let fathers just do our job. Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean,
fathers
once
have
in a while, when we get,
the occasion.
when we are surprised, I mean,
Then it's okay.
yeah, we take it in. There are things that you don't fight. You don't even waste your. You don't waste your head over. I've learned growing up that in many things apply wisdom. There are some things best left ignored, and then you move on.
And Father's Day is one.
Just go with the flow. That's all.
But it was a good day actually. It was one of those days that I got to stay home all day.
Okay.
I didn't go anywhere. So I think
I
it
was out
was
of
a
town.
good day.
I was at a very good friend of mine, Henry Abiu, buried his dad at Winneba over the weekend, so I was there to support him.
Okay.
So in fact, I was away.
Well, you escaped the harassment in the house. Okay, the kids
I
will
mean,
have.
these days technology
Okay, well,
does
yeah.
not take you away completely.
Yeah, completely,
so, you know, you still get it.
Okay.
You
Well,
still get it. You still stay in touch even though you're physically.
you are gone. Yeah. I think it's in order to wish all fathers belated Father's Day, and charge all fathers to continue to do what they do.
Okay.
Even though the emotions are not expressed as much as we do to our mothers, but we celebrate all our fathers.
Do you crave it? Do you crave for it?
No, I don't crave for it, but I think that if it's elevated much as Mother's Day, it would incentivize more men to want to be the fathers that they ought to be.
Richard, there are things you just don't fight.
You don't fight.
Don't worry your head over it. You just,
But this is a winner for society.
you just
If
go
we
with the
can-
flow, that's all.
Okay.
Because I was out, I couldn't do my usual. Normally on Father's Day, there's a post that I put out, and it's just a simple question I ask all fathers. Are you a parent or you pay rent?
His parents.
Yes. Are you a parent or you
Or
pay
your
rent?
parent. Yeah, there's a difference there. Huh?
A big difference.
Okay.
A big difference.
Okay.
I mean, being a father goes beyond paying the bills. You know, so you could be a father and not a parent. You could be a father and the one who pays the rent.
The rent. And it probably largely
So pays
absent.
the rent means pays the bills. But you don't engage in any form of parenting apart from paying the bills.
Just paying the bills.
Yeah.
But what you said, interestingly, brings to focus something somebody said to me yesterday. He says that he had a father figure in her life, or in his life, that he was just a provider. Okay, so whatever you need, he'll provide, but he wasn't emotionally available. And he's realized that having grown up, they're seeing some kind of disconnect.
I think that is a conversation that we must have. I mean, especially a lot of us men. And for me, it also is a subculture kind of thing. You know, from where we come from, you know, it's basically about the man who pays the bills. Anytime people speak about a responsible dad, they speak about the person who pays the bills.
Yeah.
Make sure that nobody goes hungry and they stay in school and all that. Anytime they speak about an irresponsible dad, it's about a person who doesn't pay bills. So largely being responsible or irresponsible has been seen within the context of providing, providing financially.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond providing financially. And there are many, when I speak with some of the very senior friends of mine, and we all try to learn from those who've traversed the paths that we are, journeying on now. For many of them, they wish that they could turn things back and maybe be there a lot more for their children. There are quite a number of them whose children have not turned out well. And it's because they were busy, focused on career and making the money and doing all that. And for them, the fact that they were able to put bread on the table
was sufficient.
They were able to pay fees even for reputable institutions for their kids to go to school abroad and all that, and providing for everybody the holidays and everything. They thought that
was it.
They were playing their part. But incidentally, they found out rather belatedly that, look, being a parent goes beyond just paying the bills, and for many of them, they can't change it. They probably will have to live with those consequences. So it's maybe us. Yes, it's us who will have to take a cue, from that and realize that, being a dad, a father, or a parent goes beyond just the bills. There's a lot more that you have to do for the upbringing of your kids. So,
let me hijack your show a little bit. So, is it a case where we can say that it's just reality that fathers emotionally cannot be available if they are to meet that provision?
Oh, there are fathers that have been emotionally available, for years. But I'm saying that largely, if we want to be, you see, when it comes to some of these conversations, I think that a more dispassionate view rather than a defensive view helps. And so I say that for many of the things we do without realizing that is there, because that's how we were brought up. That's how we saw uncles and fathers and grandfathers. So for many of us, once I am making provision, I'm being a responsible, father. Back in the days, people even abuse their wives, and the wife goes back to their parents, and the first question is, you understand me? And you see, those narratives tell you something. We are what our culture and our language says. That's who we are. So you can find out who we are in a lot of the proverbs and sayings. You understand what I'm saying? So a dad is largely been seen as the person who makes that provision. But the point is that we're realizing that it goes just beyond making financial provision. And a lot of our older friends and uncles and others have found out rather belatedly. And so it behoves on us. When people fall, you learn from the mistakes that they make. You don't go and repeat those mistakes. So if we need to then begin to watch those things. Yes, by all means, it's good to chase the career, to chase all the things that you want to achieve in life. But at the end of the day, what's the point in achieving all those things only to find out that, the kids have gone wayward, or, they've lost track? What's the point? Everything else you would have gained would have been useless. So, and that would even hurt more. What's the point in having all the titles and making all the money and then global influence everywhere, all those things, and then
you can't win.
It turns out that you were not there. You were your money was there, but you were not there. So we need to all learn small. Let's see how.
I think we should begin by pushing for this paternal leave thing and make sure. Because that's one way it can't be available, isn't it?
You see, for me, if you want to make time, you make time.
You don't need a leave to make time.
No, if you want to make time, you make time. But the maternal, my first point really, in the paternity leave you spoke about.
Yes.
You know, I would even look at the maternity leave first. Look, it's sometimes it's heartbreaking when you realize that people have to go and put their 3-month-old kids in some institution because probably after a month or maximum 2 months, they are supposed to report for work. Now, you know that gradually we're also shifting from the extended family thing to more of a nucleus. I mean, back in the days when I was a kid in a house in Tudu, you had about 10 aunties and uncles and so it was easier for people to get help and all that. But if you look at where our society is drifting towards, and not everybody can afford a help. You know, so you take a young couple, they don't have any parents or aunties living with them, and they both are working, you know, and they give birth, and after 1 month or 2 months, the lady is expected to go back to work. The guy must also go because they both need their salaries to be able to pay their bills. And so they need to go and put a 3-month-old kid
in some,
in some institution. And then, you know, so it's heartbreaking. You know, that's something that we need to look at. Obviously, the employers also have their concerns in terms of what happens during the period and all that. But what we're doing now is, in my view, very insensitive. Maybe at the time when we had that as part of the labor law, the extended family system really helped a bit. So you could always leave the kid with a sister or an auntie or a grandmother or a mother or so. But our society is changing very, very fast. You probably will be able to count the number of people who live with extended family, you know, especially in the capital cities and all that. So the maternity thing, the duration, I think is something that we ought to look at. I would prefer that we dealt with that a little bit more than the paternity. Why I say so is that there are things that a kid needs that the father cannot provide. I mean, biologically, you know, for those early years and all that. And so we ought to.
Even if you have the father staying at home and the mother at work,
he won't be able to do that. Yes, you know. So we need to try and look at some of those things.
Well, thank you. You talked like a father, so happy Father's Day. I think a lot has been learned.
I have 4 biological children.
Yeah.
So,
we've learned a lot from your insight today, and I wish you are very happy.
Right. Let's go. Thank you. Let's go. And then, okay. I've just seen a late father here. The late Sam George.
Maybe he was home cuddling with his kids, so maybe.
Extended Father's Day.
Yes, we can grant him that.
For all you know, on Father's Day, he was politicking at my hometown.
In fact, Sam is your MP.
Now,
right?
Yes, he's my MP.
He's your MP.
He's my MP. I have 5 MPs. In fact, it could be even 6. So, Neil Ante Vanderpoel is my MP.
Okay. So that's your father or mother's side?
My father.
Your father.
Okay. And then I think Raga is also my MP. Cape Coast North, is it not?
Yes, Cape Coast North. Yeah.
Okay. Then
how is that?
My mother.
Okay.
Then Sam George is my MP too.
Your father?
Yes. And then Zaneto.
Okay.
Dr. Zaneto is also my MP.
Okay.
Tudu.
Okay. So that would be your father?
Where I was born.
Okay. Well, just that one is by birth.
Yes. Okay. And then the Abeka, it should be Teresa. Yes. And then the Lada de Kotopo MP.
Okay.
Is also my MP.
Okay.
Yes. And then I met her in Parliament last week. We met the Parliamentary Select Committee.
That used to be Obama 6.
Yes, Obama. Obama used to be the MP. And then the MP for that.
Okay, yeah, that one I know.
That's where my Achim part is.
Yeah, that one I know.
From Ababo.
So 6.
So I'm at United Nations. And then maybe, hey, let me not forget K2 South.
So 7.
Before they come and take the
Yes. I just saw your screen blink for a second.
Anyway, so Sam George, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Right.
And good morning to you and our viewers. Apologies for getting here late. Like he said, this morning, my last born decided that I'm the only person who would hold her. And
When you say your last born, is it to suggest that you are done?
but I very much believe so. In this economy, I can't support another.
So if the economy improves, you add.
You see the indecision?
But it was a happy belated Father's Day, like Richard did say to you, Randy, the father of this show. You birthed this show and you've kept it going. I mean, if this show was a child, I believe that this show would have finished its first degree by now.
It will be 20 in January, 8th January.
Yeah, we're finishing close to finishing his first degree, and so you've done
if
well.
If I had a kid then, the kid will be like, we're turning 20.
20,
in 5 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so happy Father's Day to happy Father's Day to the father of my political party at the moment, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and our founder. Today would have been his 74th birthday.
Oh, today is
22nd of June.
President Rawlings' birthday.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He would have been 74 today if he was alive, and so we wish him a happy Father's Day for birthing what is arguably Ghana's best political tradition. And to the father of the country, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, even though we are told he has sleepless nights, we hope that as children we will give him sleepful nights. And to the father of Parliament, as a member of Parliament, as the Speaker, and to my own biological father, Mr. George, it's one of the things I said to him on Father's Day that many of the things I didn't
your dad
appreciate.
is around.
Yeah,
You're lucky.
yeah, he's quite old but very active.
Yeah, Next year will be 10 years since my dad passed.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Next year will be 10. The following year will be 10 since my mom passed.
Wow. I'm still blessed to have both of my parents around and hope to have them around for quite longer. But I'm very grateful to him for all his sacrifices for myself and my siblings. To a number of people, who I consider father figures, I extend my gratitude to them for the mentorship and correction. My Bishop, Charles Ajinasari, who is my spiritual father, I'm very grateful to him.
Yeah. I've been forgetting and now Deacon Sam.
Elder.
Oh, really?
Deacon Sam.
Elder
Sam. Okay. Elder Sam. Okay.
Well done.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's cool. All right.
But it's good. I'm very happy. Sometimes it's good.
An elder who also has a degree in conflict resolution and peace and all that. I mean, it's a good combination.
Randy is just up to do some.
Oh, no. It's a good combination. Actually, it's good. It's good. And he's exemplifying that on the program today, wishing the president happy belated birthday.
We just started.
Yeah.
Started,
I think he will keep this tempo.
You hold on.
No, he'll keep the tempo.
Okay. All right. I wish you well. Okay, so happy Father's Day to all fathers who are parents.
Not those who parent.
Not those who parent. You need to be a parent. There's a difference between being a parent and paying the rent. Yeah, so let's all strive to be parents and not just pay the rent. For those of you who don't pay the rent at all, that's for you there. Well, your only savior is the biblical line that says that honor thy father and thy mother. And it's a line my grandmother never joked with. She said that if it was the intention of the Bible to qualify it, would have done it. So to the extent it doesn't say you're responsible father or responsible mother, it means that when the person birthed you, you have a certain responsibility towards the person, irrespective of how they behave. And so it's a reason why it doesn't say the responsible father or responsible mother. So you give them honor to the extent that they are
your
father or mother.
You know, my bishop said something on Sunday which was striking in a sermon on fatherhood. But for me, what struck me was a sentence. He said, being a father is not a title, it's a function. And it goes to support a lot of what you said, because I was following the show as I was coming, as to the fact that it goes beyond just the material provision to even the emotional support and provision. You know, there are times, even with my little kids, the boys, there are times I'm sitting in the hall and maybe they're in the area, the play area, and I can hear their mother screaming her lungs out and saying, stop it, stop it, stop it. It doesn't stop. Me just popping around the corner and showing my face and saying, hey, everything ceases. And that's the role a father plays in the life of children that is indispensable. And so the function of being a father, for me, with each passing day, and you know, my little boy asked me one of the days, Jerry, he's going to turn 6 this year. He asked me, he said, but Daddy, Saturday and Sunday too, you go to work. Because Saturdays and Sundays are actually the days you get the opportunity to work in the constituency and do the social activities in the constituency. And so I've had to now structure, with the kind of conversations he's beginning to have with me, I've had to tailor my weekends such that during the weekdays when he doesn't get to see me a lot, and I don't get to spend a lot of time with them, I'm able to spend quality time with them on the weekends. Because for me, growing up as a kid, my dad would leave home very early to work and come back very late. I didn't have the thinking to stand in Mr. George's face and ask him, why do you go to work at this time? No, you get it. But Jerry can sit me down and have that conversation. That's the world we live in now. The kids we have today are way more expressive and have that conversation with me. And so you need to explain to him, because we're shaping how he would also be a father tomorrow. And so I've had to rearrange the time. And so even last night, for example, yesterday, he said he wanted to have a particular thing for dinner. I stepped out and I forgot when I got home. By the time I got home, I had forgotten. He had told his mom, I'm not having dinner because in the afternoon I had a conversation with Daddy that he's bringing me this. So all I did when I got home, as soon as I entered and my wife said, okay, nearby, I said, boys, put on your sandals, sit in the car and let's drive. And we went together, got what they wanted, and brought it back home. At least in that period, you get to spend some time with them. So I believe that the world we live in today has put more pressure on fathers to be able to provide for our kids and our families. However, we must also be able to understand that the world we live in, you need to spend quality time with your kids. And one person who has redefined or really shaped the amount of time I spend with my kids and how I work with my kids is my boss, Dr. Amani Boama. If there's anybody in public who's served in public office who, as far as I know, the little I know, makes time consciously for his kids, is Dr. Amani Boama. There have been times I've gone to his house at 3 a.m. and he's sitting down, setting questions. He's doing a mock for his children before they go to the mock, or they wrote the exam, his exam, and he's marking at 3 a.m. before he gets to the office at 7 a.m. and has cabinet. Dr. Manibuama is someone who I take a lot of fatherhood advice from, because I have seen him live it. I have seen the amount of time he spends on his kids. And for me, if someone like him, who at a point in time was basically the mouthpiece of government, and in those times, I saw how much, working closely with him, I saw how much time he was able to make for his kids. He gives me an understanding of this phrase that you make time for what matters to you.
I hope he doesn't pay later on in life, because I find it a bit abnormal for a person who sleeps 4 to 5 hours a day.
The guy hardly sleeps.
I hope he doesn't pay for it.
I've heard you say this once.
I think that for a person like Dr. Manu Brahma, his lifestyle helps him.
Yeah.
Yes, his lifestyle helps him. I mean, I can say this for him. He has serious discipline. You know, he has serious discipline. He doesn't spend time on many of the things that many of us spend time on. So He really has. I mean, he's a disciplined person. And the kids, I think that sometimes he puts too much pressure on them. But, well, that's his house. Yeah. Those are the rules he's put in there. But the kids are getting well. And he has a marvelous wife as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were made for each other.
True. But Randy, you know, on that point, I think that, and this is not to pass the buck, but I think that one thing that brings out the super dad is having that excellent support structure.
Oh yeah.
In a wife.
Yeah.
Because you see, in this past year, where my kids have not gone to school because of the COVID issues, Randy, I have had to go to work. I've had to be out there constantly. My kids are home, basically learning online. And the person who has kept my kids active is my wife. So there is no way I could have possibly combined having to pay the bills, be there for the kids, and still give the kids a certain standard or quality of education and mentorship and tutorship and parenting without a supportive wife. And like you rightly pointed, Omani's wife is equally the same, you know. So you need, it needs to be a complementary thing, you know, where the woman is, because if you have a woman who really just makes it hell for you to get home, you are even running away from, you want to get home when everybody is in bed. Mm-hmm. And so in today's world and age, we need to find the right balance. And I think that it's something that as young people, we must all be minded about.
You know, like we were discussing earlier, maybe those of us here are lucky.
Yeah.
That perhaps, maybe, based on where we belong, as far as the economic ladder and the social ladder is concerned, there are things that our wives can afford to do, have more flexible schedules. But like we were saying earlier, look at those who have to work. Both of them have to actually go to work. Yeah. I mean, it's hell. It's hell. It's hell. It's hell. Because it just breaks me when and people, a lot of us are not seeing how this country is changing rapidly. Yeah. When you drive along, just watch something. Look at the number of billboards you see that are advertising crutches and the ages that they take kids. Yeah. It should tell you something. Yeah. It should just tell you something.
Yeah. You know, when I was having a back and forth with my kids' school on maintaining an online class, you know, the principal actually said to me, "Honorable, I understand you, but you see, we have to go back on site because some of our parents, you know, even during the height of COVID, when the school was not doing an on-site, a parent came to the school and said, you know what, I'm willing to pay extra. Can I just bring my kid? You are doing the online, but let my kid be here in the school do the online.
When I close, I come for
So I'll bring a laptop with my kid, let the kids stay in the school, because there's simply nobody at home to take care. The mother is going to work, the father is going to work, they have no extended family to take care. So there are real challenges for parenting and for young parents in today's world, where both parents have to work, and because if they don't work, they can't meet the bills.
Yeah. My kids start school at 18 months. How many people can afford to keep their kids till 18 months? How many people?
You know, but on that crèche matter, I think that because increasing number of people are bringing their kids very young to those places, I cannot afford. I made a point that, you know, my kid won't go till I know, you know, they can tell me something that somebody pinched them or something.
But you know, you are able to take that decision because your circumstances allows you. The point I'm making is that many of those people who send their 3-month-old to
have
school,
no option.
If they had options, they won't do it. But it's just because they can't.
So the point I wanted to make there is that we should, as a society or as a country, begin to take interest in how we regulate those places.
Absolutely.
So that the people they put there to take care of the kids, there's a standard that is there that don't adversely impact the kids.
Lately, I've been seeing something. I hope that it's not just for the form, but it's really for the substance. And I must admit, I think that there's a lady who's now Nasia. They're supposed to be responsible for regulating, I think schools, maybe pre-tertiary.
Pre-tertiary, yeah.
Yes, these days I see that they are advertising a lot, informing schools that they are like the inspectorate
division.
Yes, or something. They need to certify the school and all that.
Yeah.
I just hope that it's not just about informing us about what the law says their responsibility is, but that indeed they will even have the capacity. Because if you look at the spread of schools, pre-tertiary schools in Ghana,
it's a lot.
You need to have some serious capacity to be able to do this. Because we live in a country where I keep saying that development precedes planning. So people see a vacuum, you know, because money is made from the needs of people.
Yeah.
So that's how smart people make money. So you see that there's a need, and you create a solution for that need, and you make money. So people are going into that area a lot. If the regulatory agencies do not live up to what the law says they should do, and if we also do not provide enough for them to do it, because it's one thing saying that I have enacted a law and I have set up a body to do something. That is different from I have done that and I have provided capacity, because the intended objective is for that institution and the law setting up the institutions and guiding the institution to achieve a certain purpose.
Yeah.
So if we end at enacting the law, appointing a person or a few persons, and then painting an office for them, we would not have achieved the reason why we created the institution and enacted the law. And that's that's the bane of Ghana. And we need to look beyond that. So you don't have a situation where recently there was a story about a 3-month girl who had died.
Who was killed? Who died?
Actually was killed.
So you see radio and TV, everybody keeps talking about it. And the focus is on that and the caregiver and all that. But we will not look at the bigger picture. You know, the bigger thing. And I mean, that should even tell you, I mean, what are these kids going through? Who is watching what? Who's checking what? You know, all these institutions, have they gone through the requirements to ensure that they meet this? Is there a regular, you know, supervision to check that everything is in?
You know, Randy, you make a very key point, and that's the point I was coming to about the recent story of the kid who died or who was killed in
school or whatever.
Since the
crash.
matter is in court, we say that
allegedly killed in this crash. You see, Randy, we need to look at the standards. 1, of the facilities. 2, the quality and training of the caregivers. In many of these crashes and kindergartens that are coming up. Okay.
Abdul Malik Kwekubako is cracking me up.
Wow.
He's asking me if Dr. Manibuama has more discipline than him.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Does Abdul Malik have discipline? Now, let's join you to laugh.
Let's go back to Look, these days, he does VLE. Yeah. He's on VLE from 7 a.m.
Nice.
Till about 2 p.m.
Nice.
And it's there. He will stop everything and do the VLE.
The VLE with the kids. Good.
Daddy Baku.
Greetings to Auntie Aisha. We need to look at the quality of caregivers in these facilities, because many times the recruitment of these people are just, in fact, the normal house helps or nannies who are glorified, pretty much, who are put in these institutions, just take care of the kids, change their diapers. But you see, and Randy, as a country, even our focus, successive governments, has been on making FQ, which is a constitutional requirement, work, and making now secondary education free. The next thing we'll be doing is tertiary. But we forget that the foundation of education is the kindergarten level. And the kind of quality that the kids get at that level determines whatever they will be able to become up the ladder. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody who gets a solid foundation at Montessori or kindergarten will become an excellent student, but a large portion, because the foundation is key.
It'll help you later on in life.
Absolutely.
Because mine helped me. I mean, in secondary school, I was just having fun.
That's the thing.
You know, that was freedom for me. Went to Form 1 age 10. You know, it was freedom for me.
Yeah.
So I was just fooling around, basically.
Yeah.
So it's that foundation.
It's the foundation.
That helped me later on.
Because and if the foundation is
if
bad,
it's solid, you can go off track, but it's
always
easier
come
for
back.
you to come back. Yeah.
And it's very difficult. It takes a lot of extra work for kids who don't have that foundation to actually be able to excel. And so our focus, but you go to many of our kindergartens, and that's one thing that broke my heart as an MP. When I became MP, so my biggest intervention so far in education in my constituency has been at the kindergarten level, where I'm changing the furniture for the kids. Because, I mean, my kids go to, or Jerry started a Montessori school just around the time I became MP. And I saw the furniture in the classrooms. I saw the teaching and learning materials that they had there. And my first tour of kindergarten schools in my constituency, many of the kids were sitting on stones. And these are 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. How does education become attractive to such a child? Because that's their introduction to education. And if you watch, most of the intervention of Get Fund would either be in class 1 to class 6 blocks, JSS, and then the universities and SHS.
I'll finish one for you.
I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful.
I'll finish one in the constituency for you.
Thank you so much. God bless you. The people of Bengo and Pram are very grateful. But you see, the point we're asking is, we even as Get Fund, very little focus is sent to these kindergartens. In fact, I think that the biggest intervention, and you may not like her, to kindergartens in this country has been from the 31st December movement, women's movement. Nana Konedo.
But you see that concept. You
Yes.
see? So the traders and all that, they're coming to work.
To work.
And they have those
31st December
kids,
facilities.
you see?
Yeah.
And so you drop the kid there, then you can be able to go and do your work. You
yeah,
can even
yeah.
come and check up on your
On
kid.
your kid.
You know, during lunchtime or something, and go back. You close, you pick the kid, and you go.
then you move on, yeah.
And recently, I realized that some of the institutions are even doing that. Data
Yes.
bank.
Yeah.
Data
They're doing
bank.
that, okay.
They have that.
Okay.
Where there's a place.
A number of
for-
the banks
yes,
also
where
have
their
that, yeah.
staff
Can keep their kids.
Keep their kids there. They have all the care and teachers and everything. You know, and it's a way that the institutions realize that, look, this maternity thing really is not working.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine, sometimes you can imagine even the level of productivity of that staff
Yeah.
who's come to work
And
and knows
the
that
mind is-
they've left a 3-month-old baby or
Sitting at
4-month-old
home,
baby somewhere with some caregivers they really don't know.
Yeah. For me, it's very serious at that very tender age.
Yeah.
Is key.
Yeah.
A child can be damaged at that
At
point.
that age,
Yes,
without
So
and
I
it's
think
important.
we need to look at, making sure that space is regulated. And CSOs
I agree.
in the space must come and augment government's efforts to regulate that space and ensure.
You know,
that-
speaking about children, there's just there's a couple of comments here I saw. There's one that this one says that your discussion on fatherhood this morning just struck something in me that I've never spoken about in my life, though it hurts me deeply when those thoughts come to mind. After 48 years, I don't know my father. And
Wow.
he doesn't, it is not to suggest that he doesn't know who his father is.
Yes.
But
Yes.
he doesn't know him,
Yeah.
meaning that
And that is very serious.
he really-
Once you don't have that connection from childhood, it becomes difficult to develop it much later when the person has found themselves and they are grown.
So, Nana Ketia says, don't you think the spouses are also putting pressure on us, the men, to be too conciliatory with money, instead of us being there and being responsible? I'm not in any way defending this gesture at all, just to bring the conversation up. Says, great topic. Our generation is very monetized in everything.
Yeah.
So, like I keep saying, you see, you don't need to look far. If we're very honest and candid about it, in this society, our society, growing up and everything, a responsible man was seen as a person who pays his bills. An irresponsible man was seen as a person who does not pay the bills.
Yeah.
You know.
I think we need to harmonize those two functions and see that, yes, it's still parenting for a dad to be emotionally available. And if he doesn't have the means, it shouldn't disqualify him necessarily as a dad. He must be encouraged to play that supporting role, money or no money, and then figure out where the provisions will come.
My bishop said something yesterday on Sunday in his preaching. he touched on a very, very sensitive issue. But for me, it's key. He said DNA has destroyed a lot of families. But he challenged men to realize that being a father is not about being the biological father of a kid. He said, yes, he appreciates the fact how difficult it will be for you to think that I have always thought this was my biological child. But he says, if a child from infancy has called you father, and you have brought this child up all these years, and then for some reason, a DNA test is done, and it turns out that you are not the biological father of the child, he thinks that it is unconscionable for you to say, I'm walking out and shattering the life of that kid because of a DNA test, which in some instances may even be wrong. So for him, he feels that we should move the discussion of fatherhood away from just being the biological father, the one who provided the seed for the formation of that child. And there are people who see other people. There are people whose fathers, they know their fathers didn't work out on them, but they have more of a fatherly relationship with somebody else who really, really did take care of them.
Okay, so you see, on the issue that Bishop Ajansari raised,
Yes.
It's easier said than done.
True.
Because you see, when you say that, you need to contextualize it within the space of the kind of trauma that man will be going through. You see, if you decide to adopt somebody, or you decide to be a father figure for somebody, right from the onset,
you know what it is.
You know. But when you have you have believed all this while that this is yours, the issues that come up go beyond just the child. It is about even the honesty and sincerity and everything. So men who are hit with that kind of disclosures need a lot of help.
Absolutely.
Irrespective of who they are and how old they are.
They do need
so
help.
We must look at it from a point of view of finding help immediately for those men. And it is in the course of providing that help, whether it's counseling or whatever, that they can then be able to appreciate those things. So you can then get them to look at what has existed between they and those children. And the fact that what is happening is not the doing of those children.
Absolutely.
It's within that context.
Because
but what they need immediately
is counseling and help.
Yes.
Because you see, Randy, and the government of what he was trying to preach or preach on was the fact that you have a situation where the disclosure has automatically damaged the man, the father.
Yes.
Now, the child has not been damaged yet. If you don't manage it and provide the kind of help you're talking about to help contain the damage to one person, you then go on to damage another person who is the child.
Yeah.
And the damage to the child could even be worse than to the father himself. So finding ways and means of managing, and that's where social welfare as a state, spiritual counseling and guidance, psychological.
Social welfare is another example of us having laws and
that
having
don't work.
institutions that just don't work.
Well, because we don't put the
It's not-
resources in there.
It's not fit for purpose.
We don't put the
That's what I
resources in
keep
there.
telling
Right?
you, Senior,
It's not fit
that
for purpose.
People must do their
They don't
jobs.
have the capacity.
They don't have the
But
resource.
then let them raise the issue. Let them try to do it. You know what I'm saying? So because
They're scared of losing their jobs.
yes, but they must speak to it. You understand? Because the
You know, you
laws.
ask what's the budget for the social welfare
we have
department?
everything. So, because,
You know?
so
We
look
know
at
we know we
so
come
look
from
at
a
all
place
these
of
issues.
lack, yeah.
Look at all these issues that we're raising. It is for the reason why it is for that reason why this country at a point in time believed that we needed laws. We needed to set up a social welfare department. You know, I'm surprised it's still not an authority. You know, I mean, look at all the issues that we have.
Yeah.
And so these are institutions that ought to be at the forefront. I mean, you've had experience of going outside. You've had experience of living outside. Look at how they position social welfare and those
Central,
things.
Key.
Yes. You know, but for us, we have it existing. So we can show people that we have the law. We can show people that we signed up to some
Convention
or something. And in furtherance to that, we have set up a department. There are a few people who work there. Once in a while, we'll put some 2 pickups there. you know, and the laws are there. We can quote NLCD decree, whatever. But what you're supposed to do for us is not happening.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you do all those things. See, what I keep trying to do, what I keep trying to let us appreciate is that, look, you enact laws and you set up institutions for a purpose. To the extent that that purpose is not being achieved, you would have been better off without the law at all, to know that I don't have it.
Yeah. So monitoring and evaluation, people doing their jobs.
And resourcing.
Resourcing them. And as a matter of public discourse, you know, today we literally just happenstance got to discuss this issue. So give voice to issues like this because they make a difference in our life, not always the big political issues, but focus on some of these issues because this is really the undercurrents of how our society works.
I mean, a society is alarmingly becoming dysfunctional. We don't want to accept it, you know, but it is, you know, and it's the earlier we did something about it. I mean, all these things we're talking about with morals and where people's focus are and what people prioritize and what we worship and what we praise and all that is a function of upbringing and all that.
Yeah. And you know, Randy, if you look at even very developed economies that are prosperous nations, you realize that they're getting to a place where after achieving all of the development and prosperity, they're realizing how unhappy and how dissatisfied their citizens are, how suicide rates are so high. I mean, the United Arab Emirates is one of the dream countries for everybody to visit because of the kind of infrastructure and wealth that exists there. They've had to create a ministry for happiness, basically, of the citizen and well-being of the citizens, because they realize that having just the structures in itself doesn't speak to the well-being of your citizens. And Randy, you take our budget, and the institutions that will give us a happy citizenry are actually neglected. In fact, they are a footnote in our budgets. So, and again, this is across all governments.
Yeah.
You see that a large chunk is focused on infrastructure. A large chunk is focused on the education. And when we say education, a large chunk of our investment in education goes to paying of wages of teachers.
Yes, recurrent
expenditure. And then a little bit of it goes into infrastructure. And then we talk about, I mean, the flashy projects that we can point and say, the president is on a tour at the moment. So he goes to a region, and what he will speak about is, I've done this road, I've started this project, I've started this. You never hear a president speak about how well they have resourced the social welfare to ensure that our kids are doing well, or that our mental health authority it's become an authority now. Our mental health authority has become so well resourced, and that we have mental health facilities in every public hospital up to even a district level. Because, Randy, look, the pressure people are living with and under in this country. If we do a proper assessment of our mental health.
We need a lot of education. Just last week, the mental health institution was complaining that they have over 200 people who've gone through the therapy and everything, they're okay. But their families are
just will not take them back.
Yeah, to take them back.
Yes.
They're unwilling.
Yes.
And you leave them there and get frustrated.
And you see, Randy, we're seeing on social media an increasing reportage of violent crimes in the house, violent domestic crimes, husbands on wives, wives on husbands. A large chunk of it is mental health related. True. The pressure that people are under. So you get home, and look, even with us, there are days you get home and you just had a hell of a day. You want to find a corner and creep in and be on your own because of the pressures. In fact, I've told myself that, look, there are certain calls, if I see them in the morning before 10 a.m., I won't pick. Because I know that it's just coming to build up my pressure. And so, at the end of the day, these are institutions that, imagine if you had a citizenry that was healthy, mentally and physically, what that would do for our productivity as a country. But we don't care about these things. So until we begin to focus on what really, but again, you don't blame the politician too much, because I can imagine an election where one candidate is talking about how he will build roads, and how he will do the flashy flagship projects that we have become used to demand of the political class. And another candidate is speaking about the soft issues that are not necessarily tangible, that you can hold on to, but that would spare the development. Trust me, that other candidate is not going to be attractive to a large chunk.
So my answer to that is
voters.
that they are mutually inclusive.
Not exclusive.
Yeah, they are mutually inclusive. That would be my response.
So we need to find a candidate who will marry the two, and run with both.
You see, you need to, as part of leadership, you also need to help the people to appreciate the importance of something.
Of some issues.
Yes. You must find a way. Yeah. We'll be back shortly.
In Ghana and in Africa, there is only one place to look to get that luxurious design and decor for your offices and homes. Visit Jamila Home. We give you the climax of luxury wherever you find yourself. Presidential and executive office furniture, living room set, dining set, stunning mirrors, adorable wallpapers, lovely king and queen size beds, valuable antiques and antique goods, beautiful chandeliers and more. Into the bargain, we provide caring customer service, prompt delivery service, skilled and artistic full house design and decor services, and free decor ideas for your space. Our products and service is unparalleled, boasting of top-tier clients all over the globe. Jamila Home, home of first-class quality furniture, beautiful chandeliers, and antiques.
Masa, tam Maria, I'm kind of coffee. I am doing more budget bonnet jam. I have a beer. You can be right.
It's the logo the bottom. Where you say it's the local channels now. And so pictures near clear. And 5 times better. As the other channels that could be your hormone. So go to mention someone tell me away. Oh, what the pictures. What a picture. What do AD plus decoder or multi TV and now electroland agent PR natural local channels now HD the here so better star 879 hash numbers from people box and now the advert AD channels now. Look at me.
Get an HD Plus decoder from now till the 9th of August for just $89.99 Ghana cedis and enjoy 3 months free subscription. Enjoy all the excitement and live sports action in the HD Plus Air Bustle Feely promo lasts from 7th June to 9th August 2021. Visit hd-plus.com.gh or call 024-243-9872 for more info.
Half a nose for good things.
Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. Shows brought to you in kind partnership with Ex-Natural Mineral Water. Still with me on the show, I have Richard Ahiagba and Sam Nate, George. Sam, you know Robert Koma?
Yes.
Okay.
The king of astroturfs.
Yes. Okay. He says, I should tell you that you should wait till it happens to you, then you appreciate the preaching of your bishop well.
The DNA matter. It will happen to me, don't worry.
And is that the cooker?
Is it?
Is that the cooker?
Yes.
He says he likes the line in your hair. You're exhibiting the Tokyo Joe days.
Chairman Gome, is he back?
I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
All right. Then, you know the Nagizo?
Yeah, Nene.
Yes.
Nene Magizo.
Yes. It says good discussion and his regards to you guys out there.
Sure.
In a related development, a report compiled by a non-governmental organization, Child Rights International, has shown that 55% of children in Ghana, 55%, dream of migrating to other parts of the world in the next 20 years in search of greener pastures. The report, which was conducted between June 2020 and April 2021, had over 11,000 children aged between 12 and 17 from all 16 regions taking part in the survey. Quote, 55% of respondents say they wish to migrate to another country, while 11% will either stay in the country or leave. The report said the majority of the respondents cited greener pastures, education, and a better standard of living as reasons why they would leave the country when there is a chance. Speaking to City News after the launch of the report, the Executive Director of Child Rights International, Bright Appiah, said successive governments must put systems in place to avert the situation. Quote, the children who want to leave the country are leaving for a reason. So clearly, if you're able to put things in place, we would affirm the belief system of our children in this country and they will contribute their quota. There are things that are going on that show that we do not have a national agenda that children have an understanding of. So they feel that most of the things are done according to their own dictates. But we should clearly spell out the national agenda. Once we're able to do that, children will drive that agenda. We have to be very certain about where the country is going because the children are confused and not certain. They don't think that when they are in Ghana, things will be all right for them. We need to give them that assurance. Now, this is a summary of the report. It says that the national pride is widespread among Ghanaian children. Although some of the children are hopeful about the future of the country in the next 2 decades, many children are wary of the current economic and social conditions, living standards. The findings suggest that there must be a conscious effort by the government to provide a better standard of living for the citizenry. However, looking at the future, children see the country as heading in the right direction. The survey findings also indicate that some of the respondents believe that the country can change in the next 20 years by addressing such problems as corruption and unemployment, as well as encourage entrepreneurship, limiting the powers of politicians and investing in quality education. Let me repeat them again. The kids believe that the country can change in the next 20 years if we tackle problems such as corruption and unemployment, as well as encourage entrepreneurship, limiting the powers of politicians and investing in quality education. Finally, the results suggest that religious influence in the country is likely to change in the next 2 decades as more children embrace the idea that hard work, educational qualification, and individual talents are important factors they need to succeed in life rather than religious beliefs and practices. Okay, the last paragraph frightens me. Finally, the results suggest that religious influence in the country is likely to change in the next 2 decades as more children embrace the idea that hard work, educational qualification, and individual talents are important factors they need to succeed in life rather than religious beliefs and practices. Okay. So, look, Richard, if you're a child in this country, what is it that you look out for? Look, there's a basic thing. I mean, going to school elsewhere, you are counseled. And it starts from an early stage. And so you even know the kind of professions where opportunities exist and the numbers that exist in those areas and all that. And so, and all these things are linked to a national vision. So to speak, this is where we want this country to be in the next 30 years. So if we say that we want Ghana to be an industrialized country, that's a broad thing. What kind of industrialized country are you looking at? What are the skills that are required to attain that? And in what numbers, I was going to say quantities, in what numbers do you need those skills? That will then influence the kind of policies that you put in place and where you spend your money. And that will also influence how you counsel the kids in terms of career paths and all that. That is missing. And it's basic, it's a fundamental problem. And if you don't deal with that, you would have the kind of problem that we have today. And the problem we have today is that, yes, we have a pyramid as an educational system. As a lot more children go to school, so we have a huge thing at the basic level, then it gets to secondary. Now with a limited number of tertiary spaces, we needed to open the doors for the private sector to get in. But because we didn't have this vision in mind, so even in opening up the tertiary space for private participation, we could not target. And so we just opened it up. And the point is that when people finish secondary school, they can continue and have tertiary education. Tertiary education in which areas or disciplines? We simply didn't care. And we know that when it comes to technical and science-related tertiary education is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
Now, it is cheaper to deal with the humanities because all you need simply is space. You need a human being who can lecture, and then you need a space, and that's it. And so you realize that most of our universities, about 97%, are all into the humanities. And they are producing graduates in these areas in the hundreds of thousands every year. We need those skill sets, but not in those numbers that are being produced. So you sit back and realize that this is a country that has a problem in training 1,000 doctors a year, but doesn't have a problem.
Then again, I also realize that
with
there's
training
a lot of things that are going on.
100,000 marketing graduates a year.
Yeah.
Something must be basically wrong with us, and I don't know what we keep, what we're doing about it. We keep doing things piecemeal and all that, and this is what the kids now say. So they sit back and they want to look at something that gives them hope, you know. And according to the survey, about 55% of them think that that hope in life exists outside their country. And so they're seeing things as corruption, unemployment, lack of entrepreneurship, powers of politicians, and lack of quality education as the reasons why they probably want to look elsewhere.
Well, this is very insightful. Now, your question, I absolutely agree that we need to do more. And I think, and that is a function also of how we engage the population as a government and, you know, as just, you know, a society, how we engage and communicate with our population, our educational system, what aspects of it is focused on developing the young people and counseling them as they grow. So on that score, I agree with you. And it's also because our country is gridlocked in politics so much that to even clear the space, to have a conversation like that, you cannot really have the space to do that because it becomes a thing of you getting lambasted by your political opponent with what they think is the political issue to be discussed. So it's a function of politics, a function of regulation and intentional planning to try to do some of these things. But I am going to be a bit measured with the research itself because I've been looking since I heard about it earlier on, I think this morning. I was trying to see if I can get to read, and read the methods and the circumstance, the samples and everything. But short of that, I think that the research did not reveal anything new. If they asked me,
it was more confirmation.
It was confirmation. When I was a young man in GHS, primary school, doing this pen pal thing, the aspiration we wanted to leave this country. So if you're asking kids between the ages of 12 and 17 those questions, they would answer the way I would have answered many years ago. So really this does not confirm anything. What I thought, maybe when I get a chance to read the full report, would be to see the 47%, okay? Was it 53, right? Or 55?
55.
55. So the 45%, what is their position? Are they saying that they will stay in this country?
Okay, so 55 say they wish to migrate.
Yeah.
11%. They will stay on the, yes, 11%. So you put that, you add that, then you get into a category about 66%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so once you get to read the whole thing, in order for the research to then make any revelation and therefore take the inference they are making seriously, then you want to look at a time series comparison.
Okay, so those are the details. Annie will give you a copy, so you can see the breakdown.
Okay.
And
then especially the methods.
Yes.
So you can. So, but then to be able to take this and then make any deductions or inference from it, you would want to see a series of surveys in that line. Then compare. Is there a progression? Is it getting worse? Was it better back in the day? And then we can compare. Then we can have a conversation about where we are and this telling us something we've not seen before. But otherwise, I think that it is confirming the obvious. And perhaps you would say, when I was their age and I would answer the same way they've answered, I don't know if I was really conscious of what I'm saying or just aspirational or just saying something because that's what I felt.
Right.
And you know, the proliferation now of TV programs, movies, and all of that creates that excitement for people. And so they may be answering those questions seriously to a researcher, but then they're just telling what they are experiencing or watching on TV and they would like to live. And finally, also before Sam comes in, I think that is a revelation more or less, if you just take it at face value, revelation of a lack of national consciousness. We have not been able to drive that, the pride of being a Ghanaian, in us. And it can be all the challenges we're experiencing, we're not there economically, we're not there this, and all the challenges we're facing. But nonetheless, it is our country. We must drill this down in the hearts and minds of our children, that this is the country. That's the only way.
There must be something that makes us passionate about the country.
Exactly.
And that's what we must identify.
We must figure
and
it
drill
out.
down.
Yeah. So because that is the only way that our children will be able to die for this country. See us die for it, and they learn from us that they can die for this country. That consciousness is important. No matter how small it is, how difficult it is ours. And we must embrace it, adopt it, and work for it to get better. That's a mindset we need to drill. And so, but then the company, I think is CRI or
Brighter
something.
Peers Group. Yeah.
Okay, they need to come and maybe give us historical data if they have, to do a comparison, and maybe you can make a more serious inference going forward.
Like I said, amongst other things, the last paragraph scared me a bit, where they said that they believe that hard work, educational qualification, individual talents are important factors they need to succeed in life, rather than religious beliefs and practices. I don't know what they mean by religious beliefs and practices, but for me, I'll choose God and attitude before educational qualifications.
Absolutely.
Yes, and skill. I mean, all of this without God and attitude is zero. Absolutely. Believe me. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, Randy, and let me say congratulations to Bright. Deacon Bright up here. He's a deacon in the church.
Hey.
He was also made a deacon same period I was made in
your church?
Yes. I go to church with Bright. And yesterday's program was at Marriott Hotel, and I mean, Bright is passionate about children's rights, and he lives and breathes it.
Well, Chumbam says he's 52, but he also wants to live with the children.
but could you falls in the 11%?
It says if you give him back, it If you give him back, if you give him his green card and ticket, he will go tomorrow.
I said, could you
ask him what is the circumstances under which he's living? Is it when NDC is in power?
Tell Kojo that I say he falls within the 11%. You know, there's an 11% that says they want to go and come. Kojo goes and comes.
And you know, his answer is as predictable as anything, right?
But you know, coming to the substance of the report, Randy, I think that it's telling. And the point you made in the last paragraph, about the last paragraph, is quite telling. And I think that also dovetails into I think that was the last point you made about the conscience of the kids, or the kind of conscientization they are getting from television. Randy, on this show, I have asked before, can anybody tell me what the Ghanaian dream is? Can you tell me what the Ghanaian dream is? What's the aspiration
of... to become a politician.
Well, did you really answer that question?
Are you serious?
It's become a politician and drive they call the Land Cruiser V8.
No.
Well, the kids are saying we should limit the power of politicians.
It sounds kind of crass, but it's the reality.
That may actually be the reality.
Look, are you aware that Tescon and Tain are becoming more attractive than Nooks and SRC?
Yes.
Are you aware?
Yes.
Look, a lot of things are changing in this society and we're taking them for granted.
True.
Tescon and Tain are becoming more attractive than Nooks and SRC.
Yeah.
It should tell you something.
You know, Randy, and
I mean, being a communicator for a political party is becoming more attractive than being a field worker for a political party.
Yeah.
Is this based on any research? I beg you. Because
you see.
So I've told you what the Ghanaian dream is.
No. And Randy.
No, it's unfortunate. It's heartbreaking. But it is what it is.
This is like Misty on steroids.
No. But Randy, it's heartbreaking
unless you probably want to spend a holiday at an inn. I mean, that's up to you.
Randy, it's heartbreaking that will be the Ghanaian dream. But you see, I won't doubt it. Because one of the things the kids are talking about is limiting the powers of politicians. So it means that kids at that age even see that the political class seems to have too much power, rightly or wrongly. That's the impression they have. And that is what will feed that position that, okay, if these people have so much power, my aspiration is to be part of that category of people.
Okay, so I have some details. Let me share them with you.
From the survey?
Yes. Okay. So the respondents were 11,288, and it came on the screen, so our viewers have been watching it. And they're aged between 12 and 17. 48% female, 52% male. Now, 93% of the children are proud to be Ghanaians. 93%.
93%.
Yes. Okay. However, 55% of the children want to leave the country by 2040, citing jobs, education, and better standards of living as the reasons. Top 3 factors that make children proud of Ghana. 1, peace and stability, 48%. Freedom of speech, 39.1%. System of democracy, 31.8%. And then 72% of female children forecast a bright future for Ghana in 20 years, compared to 65% of male children. So the female were more optimistic than the male. 80% of children are not interested in building a career in agriculture in the next 20 years. 80%. 80. Yes.
And not
so you see where our problem is. Look at their ages.
Yeah.
So agriculture is definitely in a decline.
Yes, and it's off for them.
Yeah.
80%. Now, the top 5 things needed for Ghana to progress in 2040. Number 1 is reducing corruption. That's 66% of them. 48% of them talk about reducing poverty. 46% talk about creating new jobs, 27% better living standards, and 25% limiting powers of politicians. Now, for them, these are the top 5 social problems in Ghana today. 66% believe high unemployment, 66%. 42% high poverty level, 36% high level of corruption, 36% high level of streetism, and 29% poor education. Now, 81% of the children say religion is important. 73% say religion is personal, as opposed to religious affiliation of family or culture. Top 3 things children will do if they become a leader. 71% say they will create jobs.
71%?
Yeah, say they will create jobs. 42% say they will fight corruption. So most
42.
Most of them 37% say they'll improve education.
Okay.
Only 40% are confident in finding jobs in Ghana in the next 20 years. Only 40% of them are confident. When given 5,000 Ghana cedis, children will invest in their education. 51% say they will invest in education. 27% say they will start a business. 16% say they will save the money.
Okay.
51% say they will invest the money in their education. 27% say they will start a business. 16% say they will save the money.
Okay. So, Randy, you see, what this gives you is a snapshot of the future of this country in the next 20 years thereabout, because it looks like the focus is 2040. That's where a lot of the targeting has been done, the questions that were asked them. And I want to ask myself that 20 years, or 2040 is about 19 years from now. These are the young, most of these people will be in their mid-30s to early 40s or thereabout in another 20 years. And you are wondering where they're going to find themselves. But Randy, the most important thing is that many of them think that they won't find jobs. Jobs remain a major issue for us. Yes, as kids would have all aspired to go to Abuja. I want to go and live in America. I want to go and live here. I want to go and live there because of the things we hear about those places. However, how many of us at that age would have considered the fact that unemployment was an issue 20 years ago? Because it wasn't really that big of an issue. It was an issue, but it wasn't the main issue. It tells you that today, where we sit, we're sitting on a very serious perspective. And Randy, you know, when you were reading this report, I had a sense, I have a feeling of deja vu when I walk or when I see stories like this. Because 20 years ago, growing up in Nigeria, the very things that were topical, that were issues, are the things that are becoming issues here today. And if we do not take care of them today, you see where Nigeria is today, that's where Ghana is headed for. That's where we're headed for. Because the very issues that 20 years ago as a kid growing up on the streets of Lagos, that were issues for us there, and were not issues here in Ghana, are now the issues that are things that are issues here. And if our kids cannot have that sense of appreciating what it means to be Ghanaian, having a dream, Randy, the countries that have done so well, the Asian tigers, the Chinese Revolution, it was all precipitated on the foundation of a sense of nationalism. Because you see, Randy, if you don't have a sense of nationalism, you will do nothing for this country, you do it for yourself. And so, even the American dream, the famous think not what America will do for you, but what you will do for America, is the same principle that Chairman Mao took and transformed the Chinese mentality. And today, the Chinese think that they're the best thing to happen to this world after Ben's bread. Malaysia, Vietnam, look at Vietnam. And countries that have rebuilt themselves have done it on the back of nationalism. Apart from Independence Day, where we get our school kids to line up and wear match and give them Ghana flags. And what has happened to our curriculum on nationalism? How are we imbibing a sense of nationalism in our kids? You know, my dad is in his 80s. But when I hear my dad talk about his days as a young pioneer, you can see his countenance change when he's singing the songs, the nationalism songs that Nkrumah, they learned under Nkrumah. A seed was sown in that generation with the young pioneer movement that gave them a certain affiliation to Ghana, a certain sense of identity to Ghana. Today, our generation, we don't have that affiliation to this country. We don't have that connection to this country. And the kids after us, it's worse. It's worse. You get it? So you need to sit back and Randy, take the elite of our country. The children of the elite of this country are not different from the children in this reportage. How many of the elites, children of the elite in this country, are going to school here are having a second degree or even a first degree in this country? Have they? Because the report says many of them want to travel for what? Education. How many of those who have it and have the power to fix this country and change this country have their kids going to school here? Some even have their kids going to secondary education outside the country. How many of their kids, the kids of the elite, are working here in Ghana? And when I say working here in Ghana, I'm not talking about political jobs. I'm not talking about my father is a big man in the Flagstaff House or is a minister, and so he's able to call a government agency or a top quasi-governmental agency and they give you a directorship there. No. How many of them have written and I beg to apply for this position job in a regular company in Ghana and are working here? How many of them? None. Many of them are working on Wall Street. They go to the finance schools, the Ivy League schools, finish, get employed on Wall Street, and work in white collar jobs, blue chip companies across the world. And then
is there something wrong with that?
No, I'm just saying that these kids who Bright and CRI interviewed are actually aspiring to what those who should fix this country and give those kids, and I dare say that these 11,000 respondents, if kids of elites were part, it would be less than 1%. This would be regular, average Ghanaian kids. What they are aspiring to, those who are today close with the power to fix this country and make it attractive for these kids to want to stay here to school because they know they will get the quality of education, stay here to work because they know they will get the correct remuneration for it. Their kids are not even here. So there is no reason for them to fix the system. That's the point I'm trying to make, Randy. Because you see, Randy, they're only aspiring to what the people at the top are doing. And so if we continue to do that, you only have people who are seeking the next opportunity to go out. I want to believe you've had some education outside the country. I have had education outside the country. Randy, you too. Compare that to the education you got here in Ghana. My LLB degree, I never saw my lecture one day. I never saw a lecture one day. But Randy, the quality of educational material that I had, University of Ghana Law School doesn't have it. Because we had people who came and did the University of London Law Program, and they had already done, some of them had been in the University of Ghana Law School, and they'll tell you, look, this is worlds apart. My LPC, LLM, University of Laws, the same thing. The quality of material. And so, if our educational sector here is more of true and poor, the kinds of things that we are teaching, and Randy, I'll just show you a report from the World Economic Forum that tells you the problem, because you made an issue of the pyramid, educational pyramid, and how we did not tackle the needs of our educational sector in even opening up for private sector, and how over 90% of the private universities are in the humanities. This is the job landscape in 2020, World Economic Forum report. The top 10 declining jobs. I'll give you the top 10 declining jobs and then the top 10 emerging jobs. Then you see where Ghana is poised as a nation. Top 10 declining jobs. 1, data entry clerk. 2, accounting, bookkeeping and payroll clerks. 3, administrative and executive secretaries. 4, assembly and factory workers. 5, client information and customer service workers. 6, business service and administration managers. 7, accountants and auditors. 8, material recording and stock keeping clerks. 9, general and operations managers. 10, postal service clerks. These are the top 10 declining jobs for 2022 from the World Economic Forum. Now, look at the top 10 emerging jobs where any country must be aspiring to. 1, data analyst and scientist. 2, artificial intelligence and machine learning specialists. 3, general and operations managers. 4, software and application developers and analysts. 5, sales and marketing professionals. 6, big data specialists. 7, digital transformation specialist. 8, new technology specialist. 9, organizational development specialist. And 10, information technology services. Randy, if you take most of our universities, maybe with the exception to a very small degree, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and maybe the University of Mines, and then maybe University of Ghana, the engineering department. Randy, show me which public university is focused in any of these key areas. If you go to the private sector, then maybe you are talking about Ashesi. And if you are not careful, if you even lump together the intervention of all the public universities, Ashesi might be doing better than all of them in terms of churning out the kinds of graduates that we need to be competitive in the job market in 2022. In fact, today, the people appreciate the use of big data. So when you have an educational sector that is not focused on the needs of our country, when you have a large chunk of people still going and without any prejudice and without any disrespect to some of the classicals, but when as a country we are actually enrolling more people to go and study classicals and languages that have actually no bearing on our economic development as a country, as against students who will be in technology, it's worrying.
I guess the problem is not about those disciplines, but it's the numbers.
That's the point.
Yes.
The numbers. The
because
numbers we're taking.
all those things, the classicals and everything, they're important.
They're important.
But the numbers, we are churning out numbers that we
way
don't need.
too much. We don't need them. And so that's why
those
you have too many graduates who are unemployable.
But the numbers.
Because Randy, that's what I'm saying, you are churning out more of those disciplines than you need of the IT-based, the science-based, the data analyst, the artificial intelligence analyst. And it's simply because the cost of having to train someone in artificial intelligence, what an artificial intelligence lab will cost you, could set up a whole humanities university.
So there's an interesting perspective from somebody who should really know this, and is the former executive director of the National Accreditation Board, MP for Kwadaso, Dr. Kingsley Nyako. He says, regarding the science-related programs in our tertiary educational institutions, it's not just about introducing those programs in tertiary institutions. The problem is the students to take up those programs. That's why our science-based institutions are losing numbers and virtually dying. So it pays to run humanity and liberal arts programs in the country. Sad. It's sad. But he goes on to say, it's sad, but that's the reality. At a point, I even decided not to give accreditation to persons who want to run humanity-based programs, except the very rare ones. And he gives his example. He says, Academic University College, for example, has state-of-the-art engineering facilities with scholarship packages for students, but struggling with numbers. In fact, it is the first and only tertiary educational institution running robotics and artificial intelligence programs. The president of that institution, Professor Mark Bagonluri, is very innovative and creative. What we have to do is to develop the interest of our kids in the sciences.
Randy, and you develop this interest not when the kids are applying for the university,
yes,
but from the foundation.
Yes, yes.
And you see, that's why I'm saying that we need a huge overhaul. So yes, Dr. Nyako, Honorable Nyako is highlighting the problem at the top of the pyramid. The solution is not at the top of the pyramid.
He ends up with a solution.
Yes.
Because he says
it's at the base.
Yeah, that's the last line. The point he makes is that at that point, people have developed
interest in other things.
Interest or disinterest.
Yeah.
And so what you do is to get them at the base.
And that's why there's this school in the eastern region that does robotics. I think it's a girls' school. They actually won an international award. Oh God.
Is this the one on the Kosovo?
Mamfi. No, on the Mamfi. Yes, a school in Mamfi. They are, you see, now a large number of the girls from that school have been given a taste. And so you see, it's how do I put it? It's a taste. It's a taste that you acquire, that you develop. It's a hunger that you develop. And so if from our secondary schools, and even primary schools, you're beginning to teach kids coding. And Randy, again, it's an elite thing. If you look at the elite schools in Ghana,
they're all doing it.
They're all beginning to teach 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 6-year-old coding. But go to our public schools.
I'm told the school is Methodist girls.
Yes, Methodist girls, fantastic. Methodist girls in Manfi.
Thanks, David. They do for the
yes, Methodist girls in Manfi.
I think
there they are.
Yeah,
there they are. Fantastic things they are doing with robotics. It's a public. I believe it's a public school. Methodist is a public school. But the question I'm asking is, has NACA, the accreditation, the curriculum agency, authority, have we incorporated robotics, IT, coding into our basic education curricula, such that the kids who go to the A-list schools, the international schools, the private international schools, who are being taught this, are the kids of the average Ghanaian who attend a public school getting the same opportunity? Because that's where the numbers are. And that's why we must begin to resource. But you see, many of these public schools, they even learn basic computing, Microsoft Word and Excel. They learn with a teacher drawing it on the blackboard. There's no computer for them to actually see it. That's the reality. And so until we begin to focus and put, and this goes back to the early point I made about the kindergarten, the kind of infrastructure and resources we're putting there. We're focusing more on the middle and upper echelons of education and forgetting that the base is where you actually build a hunger. So if a child has been doing coding from age 4, and by the time the child is age 10, he's able to write scripts of his own, there's a higher possibility that that child will want to go to Professor Bangaduri's school to go and get a degree in artificial intelligence.
Gentlemen, the first thing we need to do, which is what most countries have done, is to first of all identify that as a country, what kind of country do you want to be like? What kind of economy do you want to develop? When you've answered that, the second thing will be, what are the resources you need? And as part of the resources, the skill sets, the human capital becomes a part. Now, when you look at the various disciplines or training that is required, it will then tell you, even in numbers, that look, if for example, you're talking about electrical engineers, and you say that, oh, in the next 30 years, I should be having 5,000 electrical engineers. The first question you ask is, what is my capacity today in training electrical engineers? Oh, today I train only 100. So how many must I be training in order to reach that 5,000 in the next 20 years?
That's why you have NDPC, Randy, and they've done all of this work. But then the thing is the political class picking that development plan and working with it. You see, that's where the problem of this country is. We have the plan.
Because when you don't address this, on what basis would you be even trying to shape the minds of the kids and their interest in those areas? You must first of all answer this question. So you know that these are the things, and that's how you even influence people in going there. There's a reason why a person is going to nursing training or teacher training and they are given an allowance. And somebody else is going to study journalism or marketing and they are not given an allowance. So all these things are used to influence a certain pattern. So, so if you realize that, look, I need a lot more AI intelligence people. As a country, you decide that, okay, I'm going to give free tuition to people who want to go into artificial intelligence and robotics and all that, because I need X number every year to be able to do what I want to do. In the absence of that, you're just there chasing shadows. And so everybody, I've finished secondary school, I want a degree. This is what is available. I go and do it. As to whether the discipline that I've gone to training, you know, has those number of openings or opportunities. I don't know. Yes.
You know, Randy, let's use our oil sector as an example. Let me use that as a classical example for you, and that will show you the failings of our country. When the oil sector started booming, we realized that we didn't have Ghanaian expertise, and so most of the workforce was foreign, largely from the West African sub-region, Nigerian, and then from the Middle East. Then government decided, okay, let GNPC set up scholarships so that we can send in Ghanaians to go and learn the skills. There's an Auditor General's report on the scholarships that was given by GNPC for the oil sector. Randy, about 80% of them were in oil marketing and sales, which is not needed for the offshore rigs. The petroleum, they call them geomatic engineers and those kind. The hardcore works, those who go in there and handle the FPSOs, we didn't give scholarships. People were not willing to go and do that. Scholarships were given for people to go and do oil marketing, finish and come and sit in an office. And how many oil marketing opportunities? Yes, but the point is, how many job opportunities do you even have for oil marketing, people holding master's degrees in oil marketing, when you should have sent people to go and learn the geological engineering, subsea welding and engineering, substructure engineering, because you are talking about the integrity of the oil wells which are at the base of the sea. Those critical things. So the Auditor General was bemoaning in the report. It came to the Public Accounts Committee, bemoaning that a large chunk of the money for scholarship was used for educational scholarship in areas that are, yes, oil field related, but not necessary for Ghana's development of the oil, of a local content in our oil industry. And that's the problem. So if you are even pushing the agenda for putting government resources, you need to have a system where it is not a privileged few who are going to be picked just to get it as something to put on their CV. But we're going to be channeling that resources in making sure that the right people are trained for the right job.
Well, you do things in a topsy-turvy manner, and you want
consistent.
Yeah.
You see, I think it's good we're having this conversation. It is one of the things that we need to be sober about. The two leading political parties must come to terms with what our country needs, and that recognition must happen in a space where it is not in a disagreement, but there must be a consensus on what we want to do or what we want to be as a country. And I think we have a good sense of that. But the minute Party A comes into government, the space is actually so tense, you can't really take a step back and then, process the space and then begin to think and implement some of these things that the NDP has done. But can we get to a point where the two parties agree? Can we get to a point where our politics is about ideas, okay? Not about accusing this person of that or blaming this, but it's about superior, demonstration of ideas. To say that we in the NPP has what it takes, and this is what we are doing, this is what we are doing, this is what we're doing. And the NDC comes to say, well, whilst that is a superior idea, this is a better idea. So we can focus and drive ourselves in that direction. I think that is what we need. Everything Sam has talked about are obvious things that needs to be addressed. But the question is, why hasn't those things been addressed? There are structural difficulties. If you go to the schools, how we teach our kids, what we learn. The issue of just learning a subject matter and producing what you are told and repeat it, not in any creative way, but exactly what you are told. We need to get to a point where we are teaching our kids to acquire knowledge. Knowledge that drives them to develop passions and talents and build on their talents to guide them into places where they find most joy and fulfillment in. And so that we are not creating a constricted environment. So once you come up from secondary school, you have done this, you are what is called general art students, and therefore this is where you must veer. You are science, this is where you must veer. And it creates a problem. And interestingly though, if you look, when I was in school, going to secondary school, the thinking was that, if you are doing science, it means you are a tough guy, right? Smarter. You understand? But then you realize that it withers up. Once you go there, then as it goes up, then the social sciences begin to expand up top, and the science begin to thin up. And the question is, why is that? So it's something we have to look at. I believe that if we have the discipline, Ghanaians, when they leave the shores of this country, perform excellently. So we need to have a conversation that helps us build the facility. I think I shall say, I really have to do it one of these days. I haven't been to their campus before. I've heard a lot about them, but I really want to go. What is it? What are they doing? And how are they succeeding in this? Can we model that? And is the appetite there for our students to want to go into science? What is the inhibition? Is it because of money? Is it because of lack of institution and discipline? What is it that is inhibiting our students from going into that? We need to look at that. But first of all, we must deal with the politics of our two parties, because there is a creeping, dysfunction even within the internal party environment, which is going to make it even difficult for the inter-party relationship. The intra-party difficulties are soon enough going to upend what we need to forge to have the two parties see that we are contending with ideas to build a country that all of us can be proud of. So it doesn't matter if NPP is in government, for some to be proud of this country, so that we are building something together, and our contest is in terms of ideas. That's where we have to go if we want to achieve some of these things we're talking about.
Right. So
you know, Randy,
yes.
just a quick one. You know, the issue is when we don't have a clear national policy, what exactly it is. If our national policy is more of property grabbing and individual wealth acquisition, you have some of these challenges. And I agree with you. The political parties must come to that place where we sit down and say, our manifestos must be a reflection of how we can achieve the National Development Plan. So we have the National Development Plan that says that over the next 4 years, this is where we are going as a country in the various sectors.
So you show us...
Because if you take the NDC's 2020 manifesto, your roadmap,
your unique way of achieving that.
Absolutely. That should be what the manifesto should be. So that the manifesto show us what innovation you are bringing to achieve this national target. Because, I mean, I worked on a committee under my boss on the communication and IT part of the NDC's 2020 manifesto. In there, we said we're going to introduce robotics, and I think you have our manifesto here. In there, we're going to introduce learning of robotics, artificial intelligence, and coding into our basic schools. Because we realize that, look, this is where it is going.
Do you have the infrastructure?
So, when you are introducing, you would roll it out as a program with the requisite infrastructure.
You see how COVID and the need for VLE
exposed our lack of...
Exposed, especially at the basic level.
Yeah.
Even the secondary school level. It exposed us badly.
No, even the tertiary level. We exposed
us badly.
Everywhere. Badly. You get it. And so we had, in our 2020 manifesto, we had said that we're going to work on introducing this. And this would have allowed us to put the requisite investment. But you see, it must not just be an NDC initiative. Because it was an NDC thing, it's not part of a national plan. MPP comes in, it's not part of it wasn't part of what they promised. So unless somebody within the government structure who has the capacity and the will to carry the government along with it, introduces it maybe at cabinet and gets the buy-in of the state to put resources into it, it's a plan that is dead. You get it, dead with a political party. But if we had a national plan that said, look, where we need to go is to invest in robotics, then the NDC's plan will be, this is how we intend to do it, this is what it will cost, this is how we will roll it out. The NPP brings this plan, then the electorate will vote on what they think is the most workable plan. Whichever way we go, whichever way the pendulum swings politically, what happens is that the Ghanaian will get to see that robotics and that coding in our public basic schools.
Right.
So until we have this national plan that drives us, and our manifestos are no longer the aspirations of a party or the...
For them to accept it, so maybe if indeed it is not in the constitution just because we want to show that we also know what is in vogue, but we really mean it, we ought to now look at the issue of the composition. Yes, I appreciate that there's institutional representation, but if you check, the reality is that even the institutional representation is sometimes partisan. So if we mean well, and we appreciate that, we ought to look at it so that the composition itself is a reflection of the Ghanaian society. You understand me? So now we come and contest on the basis of your unique way of achieving that national objective or vision. So if it is, we can use free SHS as an example. That if we're in agreement that secondary education ought to be free, and that is where we aspire to, then the MPP comes and tells us how they're going to do it. The NDC tells us how they're going to do it. So it's now against progressive or whatever. And at the end of the day, Ghanaians take a decision on how they want it done. But whichever way you go, that objective is going to be met.
And one of the challenges we face is that we try to solve everything
at a go.
So
we spread ourselves thin.
But that's why if you read the NDPC thing, the good thing about the works that they've done over the years and the recent one by the Professor Botry Committee, they look at even issues of budgeting. It's so thorough. They look at budgeting. They look at when you can do something, how many years it's going to take you, what you must do from year one, at which intervals.
Multi-year budgeting.
So you would see that you're not doing a little of everything at the same time. But there's there's focus and there's prioritization. You know, and then you follow it. But the problem is that, so you hear some politicians say that, but how can NDPC decide what should be priority for MPP or NDC?
Yeah, you see,
but if in prioritizing the things in the NDPC document, we are all in agreement. Even if we are in disagreement, it should be
very
something minor.
Things,
But if we are in agreement that, look, it would help this country if we prioritize in the next 10 years on A, B, C, and we are going to commit X, Y, Z to that, then we agree, and then we can move on.
So you see, even the NDPC document, they're very great people. They have really good stuff in there. But the point I'm saying that even that document tries to do too much. Take our constitution, it tries to do too much. You know, big countries, continent, their constitution is on a few pages. Constitution talks about everything, everybody and their friends and everything. It's a gridlock. By the time you figure it out, you have wasted much time trying to understand your constitution to begin with. You know, so you are here, they are quoting this one, they are quoting that one. The thing is, it should be streamlined. So, for example, our aspiration as NDPC will lead us through some research based on what the report Sam just read about, the 10 emerging jobs or the so many emerging jobs. By that, research, NDPC can create a vision for the country and say, look, Ghana must industrialize. Okay? The political parties who are contending, show us your roadmap in achieving that industrialization agenda. So MPP comes with one district, one factory, this, that. NDC comes and says this and say that. So then in going to convince people to vote for them, then we discuss the details. When MPP comes to power and is implementing its budget, and you see the budget and prioritization in the budget, where the allocations are going, you say that, well, if you are achieving industrialization, you cannot be allocating for maybe, not to denigrate, but you cannot be allocating for building maybe churches or building whatever. Industrialization, you need to be allocated this way. So that would be the NDC's critique. That would be the NDC's opposition to the NPP to say that you told Ghanaians you want to industrialize. So these are the things you should do. Our plan is to industrialize by doing ABCD, like you said about the free SHS. We said we want to do gradual whatever, implementation of free SHS. You want to do it wholesome. And so this and that and that. So you must allocate to it so we see that you are doing it. That should be the context of discussion. But if we try to regulate and think about everything now, the world is dynamic. You think for us today, and tomorrow when we go to implement, things have changed. But then we are constrained by what you thought yesterday to be able to live with that. And if you breach that, then they take you to court. We have to stop getting our document to be so exhaustive. Create a broader vision. Let the parties show the mission or give the tactical details in canvassing for vote. That, for me, I think will drive us forward faster.
All right, just 10 seconds. He says, a young man I know, he says, this honorable, this ICT issue, I'm currently studying BSc Information Technology at the University of Ghana, Legon. I'm in level 200. We have not even held a computer mouse before. Oh, wow. We learned programming fundamentals, coding, in theory, and wrote our exams in theory, and that's all.
Is it talking about 30 years ago?
He's currently in level 200. He says they've done programming, coding, but all they did, they didn't write a script to submit. They wrote the script algorithms on paper and submitted as exam.
No, I don't believe this.
Yeah, it's possible. But
it's happening.
What we have to do,
it's happening.
Just before we come in, has civil society must engage. We understand that as a government and as a country, our resources are limited in terms of financial resources to provide all this. Civil society organizations must engage. MPs, they must engage to collaborate with other sources. There are a lot of international organizations that can come, engage and bring these things into our country. Let's form those connections. We can develop. All the developed countries at one point struggle. We have to figure it out. We have to help government to be able to do this.
All right, so Dr. Percy, he says that I would suggest knowledge, patriotism. He says a healthy love of country, as opposed to nationalism, my country whether right or wrong. He says individual and collective self-belief, self-esteem, self-confidence, and respect for others as essential values any forward-looking people must cultivate in their youth. All right. So, Mirabel Sefako, the Framakbo of the Department of French, University of Ghana. Today is your birthday. So, happy birthday to you, Mirabel Sefako, the Framakbo. And it's from your dad, the Honorable Roxin, the Framakbo.
Oh, he has an older son? A daughter,
yeah.
Okay.
At the university already.
Wow.
Yeah. You thought he was a small boy.
Well, he looks a small boy. With Sam's a boy.
He's not too grown, it's just that he started too early.
So, Honorable Roxy, the your daughter's age has exposed what you were doing. What you were doing in school has been brought to light today. So, happy birthday, Mirabel. And Baba Musa, I don't know if you are in China or in Ghana. Today's your birthday.
Oh, Baba Musa.
Happy birthday to you, Baba Musa. And Joan Ahiawado of the Ghana School of Law. Today's your birthday. So, Joan, happy birthday to you. So, we'll be back short.
Oh, yeah.
Football pa and nothing a high sense as sponsor Euro 2020 Edia Maono Nesa Suntina Yatiti TV say who Edia Maono a high sense Euro 2020 TV super promo Kahoe Kwajo brand new high sense TV and Nibuo Dafo pictures near clear na color near deep sound quality this dear one it here high sense TV so dear entry power about down one access you are akona utusa barefoot. If it's 18th June, I call him 11th July. A Hisense Euro 2020 TV super promo. And my ref Hisense and Kwan and my 5 years warranty. A Hisense Euro 2020 TV super promo. I cost a Hisense showrooms. I want Ghana for Nanina. What you would you not say now? Hisense, everyday prices for everyday people. Hisense, official sponsor at the Euro 2020.
The search for a reliable partner in dealing with your U-turn bus needs has been made easier and convenient with SA Automobile. SA Automobile, formerly U-turn Ghana Limited, has been in the business of offering quality U-turn product and services at competitive rates. At SA Automobile, our team of expert staff, management, engineers, and mechanics professionally deal in the sale of U-turn buses, genuine spare parts, its repairs and maintenance at a highly effective workshop with remarkable speed. We also have available the sale of Camel car batteries, Weichai and Kia spare parts, Zonton coaches and light-duty vehicles for everyday movement. Contact us on 020-000-0831 or 054-555-7500. You can also email us info@saautomobilegh.com or visit our website at www.saautomobilegh.com. SA Automobile, the pleasure of doing business with you is all ours.
Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. Still with me on the show. I have Richard Ayagwa and Sam Nati George. The show is brought to you in kind partnership with X Natural Mineral Water. Yes, sir.
I was going to say something like that before we went on break. I was saying that Brighter Pierre has done Child Rights International's review. I wish there was an Adult Rights International. Okay. Child Rights International shows 55% of the children want to leave the country. There's an Adult Rights International that does for adults. I'm sure we'll have oversampling 110%.
At least Kojo will say he wants to.
Kojo will go. Richard will go back to Canada or US.
He sent another text to say that you only leave the country when your party is in power.
That's all. so that is not a credible. It's a partisan.
He raised an interesting issue. It says that look, there are things that we take lightly, but how many of our children even speak
our local
languages? Yes.
Yeah.
But now there are two texts that I read. This is from one of the IT guys I admire a lot, Alain Besso. He says that, yes, he says in the NDC manifesto, we provided for blended learning. It is the only way to teach new technology, practical mix of learning with understanding of the core concepts being the way forward. But Dr. Kingsley Nyako has sent me an interesting one, which was captured in the tail end of the discussion. He says, I once had a conversation with a former vice-chancellor in one of our traditional universities on the need to have a positive attitude towards online qualifications because of the era we live in now. That was in September 2018. They said it won't be accepted in that institution. Then COVID-19, and they all started running online programs. He says our institutional heads should be proactive and progressive. We are way behind.
But how would that happen when one of the traditional universities put out a job advertisement last week for a top management position, and one of the criteria is that you must be over 45 years old
to apply for
You must be over 45 years old because the senior management position in one of our traditional universities.
Is it for senior management in aged homes or?
I mean, why must you be over 45? When today you've got 29-year-olds, 30-year-olds who have the requisite qualification, have good working experience, but you see, that's how our traditional institutions work. You must be great. You see, Randy, now you qualify for a lot of jobs because once you show up, your beard alone qualifies you. But Richard like this who doesn't have hair, even if he's Methuselah, they will say he's not old, he's young because he has a baby face.
But you see,
that's the problem.
It's funny because I've been working for almost 30 years.
Yes. Yeah. But 15 years ago, when you were in grade,
all of those didn't have much experience.
And
you're probably not qualified.
This country,
it's a problem.
It's cultural. Okay, it's cultural, and that we allocate wisdom to age.
Yeah.
So that's probably.
But someone says that people forget that foolish people also grow old.
But you see, oh yes. Yeah. No, that's a mistake we make. Idiots grow old too. You know, I think everybody must have that somewhere in their room. Idiots grow old too.
Yeah.
We need that.
Yeah.
You see, when you have that, you'd be able to appreciate some of the things you hear and see from people with gray.
But you know,
I mean, the idiot today will grow gray one day.
Yeah. And you see the gray and attribute it to wisdom.
So idiots grow old too. Yeah.
But you know, when you look at our traditional society and the period within which that came to light.
That's why you know, old age is synonymous with wisdom. Yeah. You understand?
Yeah.
But if you appreciate that idiots grow old too,
then it changes.
You will be careful the premium you place on anything coming from gray. You have to subject it to some.
Based on putting on the balance.
Because some of the things that we hear and see in this country, sometimes you feel like going to die, so you are not put in the same category as a person. You know?
So you don't grow old, and then they ascribe as a wise person.
Look, we probably will try, and I thought we were going to deal with the Russian thing, and then tomorrow we'll do the NDC's presser on
Dr. Ine.
And then there's something also about the Indian variant having entered Ghana. Yeah. And the key thing here is that according to the authorities, so the specialists, if I say authorities, people might think that I'm talking about politicians. According to the experts, AstraZeneca and Sputnik V can't deal with the new variant. Okay. And so even if you are buying for $26 or $19,
you can't do jack against Sputnik, against Delta.
You're profiting from the pandemic is cost $90.
No, but that the price has nothing to do with
what?
The efficacy. It has nothing to do with it. given the
that even makes it absurd.
No, I'm just saying that. But this is a latter day, dynamic too.
Vowed to cause the dismissal of metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives in the region who do not perform satisfactorily in their roles. According to him, the performance of MMDCs in Accra will be assessed every 6 months, after which recommendations will be made for the dismissal of the low-performing officials. He insisted that the job of MMDCs is not limited to the confines of their offices, but on the ground, and that they must be ready to be on the field to work. Mr. Quartey said he will plead with President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to sack any MCE who fails to perform creditably after the 6-month duration. Quote, I don't know about other regions, but in Greater Accra, if you are confirmed as an MCE, I want to go and kneel down before Mr. President that 6 months into your administration and you are not performing, we will sack you. As an MCE, we expect you to work hard. Don't sit in your office and do capacity building. Go to the field. That is where the work is. We will try and get an appraisal to the local government minister every 6 months. And if we think you are not doing well, we will sack you. Maybe Henry Quartey should have emerged during the AFRCP and DCDC.
Yeah, I mean, it appears that he has a lot of the verb of the AFRC and PNDC.
My dear brother Henry Quartey.
Yeah. They say he's large and in charge.
Yes.
And I can. And
it's taking over my title. It used to be my title.
No, now it's Henry. I pity the MMDCs who will be appointed because I'm just picturing when you were reading. I'm picturing Henry kneeling before the president that they should sack you. If you imagine, by the time he will rise, the president will sack you.
What's the point?
But kudos to Henry.
Yeah.
Everything aside, and I've done that on the show. I think about a month ago. Credited him for the kind of drive he's brought to Greater Accra. As a son of the land, I am excited about some of the things that he's doing, a kind of transformation that is going on, and the fact that he is constantly in engagement. You see, that's one thing that we need, and all the things, the NDPC plan and all we spoke about. If that plan is a consultative work, the political parties won't have a problem with it and won't be changing it every time there's a change in government. One thing Henry has done, and I'll say this, I'm sure he won't be bothered about this. Just yesterday, he called. In my capacity as regional caucus secretary in Parliament, called me and said, can you speak to your chairman? I want to roll out a new policy in Greater Accra. I'm going to be meeting the MMDCs later in the week. But I want to meet with the NDC caucus in Parliament and have a conversation with you on the policy for your input before I meet the MMDC.
Which policy?
Maybe that.
Don't give us the details. Just
it's on sanitation.
Okay.
It's on sanitation and the need for new bylaws across all the 29 MMDs in the region.
But a recent thing that was done.
Yes.
Later on, we got audio visuals that show that some of the people have gone back to the places they were sacked from.
Oh, it's a matter of time. I mean, and again, with some of these things, you need the bylaws to empower the MMDs to take certain measures. Not all. You see, for some of the things he's doing.
You see, in my view, for that exercise he did.
Yes.
If people have gone back to those areas, those DCs or MCs or whatever.
That's the 6 months appraisal he's talking about.
That's the 6 month thing he's talking about.
So he's cleared you. The regional minister, the RCC has come cleared you. It is not the job of the RCC to come there, be maintaining and keeping up that place. It's the job of whichever MMDC is supposed to be there. So those are the deliverables of the MMDC. So at the end of the day, the point I'm making here is this. For me, I think that the consultation helps a large deal. And look, these movements and all, you've realized that it's been very quiet. There's been very quiet political noise around it because it's. I told you what he did. He met with us. He met with all the 34 MPs, invited our regional chairman. So Chairman Adekoka was there. Chairman Agohom was there. Invited our regional council of state rep, the Honorable E.T. Mensah, Evangelist E.T. Mensah. They were all present.
Yeah.
Is his.
And then some part, then the other part is Zanetti.
But of course, Greater Accra is all this.
So, but he's assured me that some work will be done at Tekel because, Randy, it is annoying. We've spent over $100 million putting up the interchange, which is supposed to have eased the traffic there. But from is it Aveno Junction or around is it they call it something Rice? Just around
Rice.
Is it?
Other Rice.
No, not Other Rice.
Cap
Rice.
Okay.
From Cap Rice till you get to PNT.
You mean the motorbikes or what?
No, the trotros. Randy,
okay.
you see, again, you can't blame the trotros exclusively. That's supposed to be a bus stop. You have filling stations on both sides of the road, right there. There is no bus terminal for them. So we need to look at decongesting the place. So you have a 3-lane that's supposed to take you up.
Something has also happened in Accra.
Yes.
I think it's also happening in Kumasi now. When I was a kid, trotros only pick up and drop passengers at designated bus stops.
Oh, now
it was only taxi. We then called it service.
Yes.
There were those who could stop everywhere. Today, trotros behave like taxis.
They stop everywhere.
They stop everywhere.
Everywhere.
So everywhere indirectly has become a bus stop.
Yeah.
That must be the next thing to be dealt with because it's creating a lot of congestion and accidents on the road.
It's bad. You know, and so for me, like I said, Henry, you are large and in charge, you know, and he should keep up the job he's doing. For me, what matters is that we clean up the city, we get the city working well, okay, and the consultation is important. For me, as a Gandangwe, I am interested in. I travel across the country. I go to other regions, and Randy, some of the things that happen in Greater Accra do not happen anywhere else. The kind of disregard for public sanitation, for law and order. It's like Accra is a jungle. It's like everybody does what they want to do and gets away with it. It's good we're having this happen. I keep saying, nobody, and when I say nobody, I'm referring to the president. Respectfully, Mr. President. When anybody comes to you to come and make complaints, do not rein Henry Cote in because we've seen it happen. Ajiri Blankson, under President Kufuor, what he did at Rollins Park, and the noises that were created, we are getting into an election. He's doing this decongestion. Him. We saw it with Oko Van Der Poel. Oko cleared Rollins Park. You could ride Rollins Park at Accra. You could drive around it in 2 minutes. Senior party people told him that he was going to cost us the election. Pressure was put on him. If we are cleaning up our city, if we are fixing the city,
same has happened to Ambukote.
But you know, Senior,
same has happened.
I
wanted to find out. You see, in all of this thing, like they say, easier said than done. We know even the process of nominating and approving MMDCs.
Yeah.
You know that now the party, in this specific case, the government is relegated the shortlisting to. No, let me not say relegated, but it is
assigned.
He has assigned the shortlisting to party. You understand? So the party hierarchy that is engaged in the vetting, and then they will shortlist and send to the president for him to choose based on their recommendation and all that. Now, if there's a reason why I went through this, so to appreciate who will eventually be nominated to the assembly for approval, the process that would have gone through in terms of those who, push the person to be appointed. This straight away sets the minister against the party in the region. And unless he has a serious buy-in and the party themselves accept that, look, if a person is not delivering on the basis of this criteria, we would all agree that the person must go.
Yeah, but see, so I think before, when he was nominated, I had a conversation with him, and then, in talking about it, there's his Accra Must Work Again concept and all of that. You saw that he wanted to do something. And, attendant to that conversation, the consensus is building across the party lines. That
quite remarkable.
Yes, that shows you that he has some intentional will to want to help move Greater Accra and thereby our country forward. What he says about, people who are appointed and should not sit in the office and do capacity building just reminded me of my MC, Katamanso Solomon Apia. Is one of those MCs at the time, but now haven't been very engaged, but earlier on, is always out there trying to engage sanitation, do this, do that. That should be a standard expected of all. And I think that the skepticism is good, but I don't think that this president, knowing his drive and commitment to want to achieve a certain level of sanitation in Greater Accra and thereby the rest of the country, I don't think that he will be one who will not support this regional minister. And in fact, his success thus far, we can allocate to the inherent support of the president to keep him on this course to achieve what I think is the vision of the president. But we must get to the space where people are accountable. And you know my view on that. When people are given a piece of work, they must do it. If they can't do it, they must be let go. Nicely and respectfully, but we need somebody who can do the job. Because really in fact, the views Sam is expressing about some internal pressure being brought on people not to pursue a certain objective because it may hurt party fortunes. I think that is also a function of communication. I think regional minister has done well. It's not only just consulting, stakeholders, being the political parties and bringing them on board. It's actually engaging the people in question as well. That engagement must be ongoing. It shouldn't stop. It must be ongoing. If it is the onion sellers we are dealing with, we should continue to engage them. When we move them to their location, we should engage to see how the place is. Are we providing, do they have everything they need to be functional over there? What are the challenges? And work with them to deal with it to make sure that that change is sustained and they can maintain it and not come back to where they've been moved from. Crossing the roads, I mean, it's one terrible thing. Jaywalking is one of the things that you think about it and you can't understand. And then something happens and people mass up on the street. We want overhead bridge and whatnot. But when you put it, people will use it. We are in a hurry to go somewhere, and sometimes I really don't understand why we find it so easy to break the law. The laws are made for our own good. We must abide by them, and where the laws are not putting extreme burden on people, let's have a dialogue and see if we can evolve them. Because I have a feeling that some of the things, for example, people having driver's license, for example, it's a law, it's required, you must have it. Police are on the road checking this. But when you go to get your driver's license, the kinds of things you go through is prohibitive. That's why people don't get it. So our institutions must work, facilitate and make it easy for people to get this document. I don't see what the fuss is about getting things done in this country. When you go to places, civil servants, they make it appear as if you have to beg them. But then these are requirements that people must meet to be able to carry on their lives. Okay, so there must be a general understanding in a country that want to move things forward, and I think we should support the regional minister to achieve some of these landmarks, and this must transfer across the country. Everybody must do their job. The citizens, we must hold the people. It becomes easy to hold some judge accountable, to say, let's hold the president accountable. But we, the individuals, we, the citizens, we must hold ourselves accountable. Gives us the moral standing to hold everyone else accountable. That is how we'll build a society we'll all be proud of.
Randy, in 10 seconds, because you're wrapping up. You see, Richard had done a very good submission, but he spoiled the submission when he said that you can attribute Henry's performance to the president. How?
No. Say inherently.
Inherently, how? How do you attribute? The president promised us that he would clean Accra in 18 months. Did he do it? The president said he was going to put his presidency on the line to fight Galamsey. Do you see what they call second issue? So if Henry is doing well, let him do it. If you add the president to it, he will fail. Stop.
But who put him there?
Don't spoil it.
Who put him there?
You appeal to the president.
And I'm saying the president should not bring. I'm appealing to the president because you see, wherever the president gets involved, he spoils it. When the president got involved in sanitation, Accra became filthier. When he says he's going to stop
to the president, Sam, suggests that for Henry to succeed,
the president must not interfere with his work. He must not bring his things there.
Which things?
What's that? Look at Galamsey. Look at the president's successes in fighting Galamsey. You shouldn't bring it to Harry's job.
But
the president should leave him
what
alone.
Sam is doing? Because I told you that he was going to keep a certain temple.
But what did I tell you?
He just want to prove me wrong. That he won't keep the temple.
I'm just saying to you. No, I'm saying you have mad the conversation by bringing the president.
But I told you.
And he's trying to make you prove you right and prove me wrong.
So that's why I told you so moment.
He has grey. You don't have.
So talking about grey. Well, let me just do this one from Kwesi Bride, the former editor of the Daily Guide. It says when the political parties stop infantile policies of abandoning projects initiated by previous regimes, the taxpayers' monies, and begin similar projects anew, the nation will be growing. I think we are for power for its sake, but we are not thinking enough. The fears we are expressing now, the beautiful ones are not yet born. So that's Kwesi Bride, former editor of the Daily Guide newspaper. And that'll be for the morning. Gentlemen, just so you don't forget, a recap, all the things you've spoken about. But I told you to get those things, signages in your room.
Yeah.
That
the grey.
Idiots grow old too. Crooks grow old too. Okay. That'll be for the morning. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.
Metro TV. Insightful and inspiring moments.